So this is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, inviting you to come and learn with me. This is the art scroll. It has an English attachment to it. It is in English. The whole thing is in English. And it's the Jewish Bible with insights from classic rabbinic thought. So let's come over here, try to pick up where we were in the life and the times of our King David HaMelech. So here we had a situation. He has these little blurblech on the side. So his son Avshalom is really his name, has killed Amnon, his brother. He killed his brother who had raped his sister. So you have different mothers in the houses, and you have different relationships between the wives of David HaMelech. And you see the accusation, not the exact accusation, but actually incest taking place in the family. Maybe in those days, living with your father's daughter from another mother was not such a big problem, I'm not sure. So anyway, Absalom then, after killing his brother, goes into exile. Now we're in this place. So he says, Yoav is his name in Hebrew, plans a reunion with Avshalom. So I'm changing the names into Hebrew, so Hebrew sounding, it sounds better to me. So Yoav, son of Zeruiah, perceived that David's heart was set on Avshalom. So Yoav sent to Tekoa and brought a wise woman from there. This is a strange story. He said to her, if you please, pretend to be a mourner. Wear garments of mourning and do not anoint yourself with oil. Be like this for many days as a woman mourning over a dead person. In other words, she didn't bathe, she didn't clean herself, and she was a mess. Then come before the king and speak these words to him. And Yoav, put the words into her mouth. The woman from Tekoa spoke to the king. So apparently you had, at that time, the king had an audience in which common people could come and speak to him. The woman from Tekoa spoke to the king as she fell on her face to the ground and prostrated herself. She said, "Save me, O king." So the king said to her, "What problem do you have?" She said, "In truth, I am a widowed woman. My husband has died. Your maidservant had 2 sons. They quarreled in the field, and there was no rescuer between them. One struck the other and killed him. Now behold, the entire family rose up against your maidservant and said, 'Hand over the one who struck down his brother, and we shall put him to death for the life of his brother whom he murdered. We shall also destroy this heir. They would thus extinguish my last remaining coal, not leaving for my husband a name and a remnant on the face of the earth.' The king said to the woman, 'Go home, and I will issue a command concerning you.' The woman of Tekoa said to the king, 'The sin will be upon me and upon my father's family. My lord the king and his throne are innocent.' The king replied, 'Whoever speaks ill to you, bring him to me, and he will no longer harm you.' She said, 'May the king remember Hashem your God to protect me from the many destructive blood avengers, so that they do not destroy my son.' And he says, 'As Hashem lives, not one hair of your son shall fall to the ground.' The woman then said, 'May your maidservant speak a word to my lord, the king?' And he said, 'Speak.' The woman said, 'Why do you think such a thing about God's people? And let the king not say now about this matter that he was mistaken in order for the king not to return his own banished one.' For we shall all die like water flowing along the ground that cannot be collected. God spares no one. Let the king therefore ponder thoughts, so that no one be banished from before him. And now the reason I have come to speak to the king, my lord, in this manner is because the people frightened me. So your maidservants thought, I shall speak to the king, and perhaps the king will carry out the word of his maidservant. For the king would listen to save his maidservant from the clutches of that man who wishes to obliterate me and my son along from the heritage of God. So your maidservant said, let the word of my lord the king bring about tranquility for his own son. For like an angel of God, so is my lord the king, listening to the good and the bad. May Hashem your God be with you. The king then spoke up and said to the woman, do not conceal from me anything of that which I ask of you. And the woman said, let my lord the king speak. The king asked, is Yoav's hand involved with you in all this? The woman spoke up and said, as your soul lives, my lord the king, one cannot veer right or left from all that my lord the king has spoken. For your servant Yoav was the one who instructed me, and he put all these words into the mouth of your maidservant. Your servant Yoav did this thing to lead up to the matter of Avshalom in a roundabout way. My Lord is wise with like the wisdom of an angel of God, knowing everything in the land. The king then said to Yoav, behold now, I have done this thing, and go bring back the lad Avshalom. Yoav then fell upon his face to the ground, and he prostrated himself and blessed the king. Yoav said, today your servant realizes that I have found favor in your eyes, my lord the king, for the king has carried out the request of your servant. Yoav then got up and went to Geshur, and brought Avshalom to Jerusalem. The king said, let him go around to his house, but let him not see my face. So Absalom went around to his house, and he did not see the king's face. There was no one in all of Israel as praiseworthy for his beauty as Avshalom. From the bottom of his foot to the top of his head, there was no blemish in him. When he would have his head barbered, at the end of every year he would have his hair barbered, because it became heavy upon him, and he had it barbed. He says barbered. He weighed the hair of his head at 200 shekels by the king's weight. So it's a tremendous hair. To Avshalom were born 3 sons and 1 daughter named Tamar, who was a beautiful woman. Avshalom lived in Jerusalem for 2 full years and did not see the king. He did not see his face. Avshalom then sent for Yoav in order to send him to the king, but he refused to come to him. He sent again, but he refused to come, and he then said to his servants, take note of Yoav's field, that Avshalom's servants are set the field on fire. Yoav then arose and went to Avshalom's house into the house, and said to him, why did your servant set my field on fire? Avshalom answered both Yoav, behold, I sent for you, saying, come here, that I may send you to the king to say, why have I come from Geshur? It would be better for me if I was still there. And now let me see the king's face, and if I am guilty of a sin, let him put me to death. So Yoav came to the king and told him. The king summoned Avshalom, and he came to the king. prostrating himself upon his face to the ground before the king, and the king kissed Avshalom.